Intel is up more than 150%. Its Foundry lost $2.4 billion in one quarter. Those two numbers look incompatible. They are not. Investors are no longer valuing Intel like a company fighting for survival. They are valuing it like a turnaround that has already cleared its hardest technical problems. And to be fair, part of that comeback is real. Demand is stronger. The product business is improving and Intel 18A is now shipping in actual products. But there are three different stories hiding inside the word comeback: a product recovery, a process technology recovery, and an external foundry business. The first two have evidence. The third still has to prove itself. That distinction is the entire Intel thesis today. As of this recording, Intel shares are up more than 150% in 2026. That does not automatically make the stock overvalued. It does change the question investors should ask. At the beginning of a turnaround, the market only needs evidence that the company will survive. After a rally this large, survival is not enough. The company has to show that earnings power, margins, and customer demand can rise into the valuation. Intel is no longer priced like a broken manufacturer with no path forward. It is increasingly priced like the only American company capable of rebuilding a leading-edge logic foundry at scale. That possibility has enormous strategic value. But possibility and operating profit are not the same asset. The larger the rally becomes, the more important it is to separate what Intel has already delivered from what the market hopes it will deliver next. This is not a prediction that the stock must fall. It is a reminder that the burden of proof has moved from survival to execution. Start with the strongest part of the bull case. Intel reported $13.6 billion revenue in the first quarter, up 7% from a year earlier. Total Intel products revenue rose 9% to $12.8 billion. Data center and AI revenue reached $5.1 billion, up 22%, while the client computing business grew a more modest 1% to $7.7 billion. Management also said revenue, gross margin, and earnings per share exceeded the high end of guidance for the sixth consecutive quarter. That is not a rumor. It is operating evidence. Xeon demand is strong. Intel remains central to a large part of the server market, and the company says Intel 3-based Xeon 6 and Intel 18A-based Core Series 3 are both in full volume production ramp. Intel called them its fastest new product ramps in 5 years. So, the easy bearish argument that Intel cannot ship competitive technology anymore is becoming harder to defend. The product engine is working better. The critical question is whether that engine can fund and eventually validate a second business, manufacturing chips profitably for outside customers. This is where Intel's segment accounting can create the wrong impression. Intel Foundry reported $5.4 billion first quarter segment revenue, up 16%. Read that number alone and the Foundry already looks like a major commercial rival to TSMC, but almost all of that revenue came from inside Intel. Inter-segment Foundry revenue was approximately $5.2 billion. External revenue was only $174 million. Even that external increase was primarily explained by Altera becoming an outside customer after Intel sold control of the business, not by a wave of newly disclosed leading-edge customers. Intel then eliminates most internal Foundry revenue when it calculates consolidated company revenue. This does not mean the Foundry has no value. Internal manufacturing is essential to Intel's product business. It does mean investors must not confuse a captive manufacturing operation with a proven external Foundry franchise. Here is the dividing question. What evidence would convince you that Intel Foundry has become a real second business rather than a cost center serving Intel products. For me, it requires named volume customers, rising external revenue, and a visible path to lower losses. Intel Foundry generated $5 and $421 billion of segment revenue in the first quarter and incurred $758 billion of costs and operating expenses. The result was a $2.437 billion operating loss, equivalent to a negative 45% segment operating margin. A year earlier, the loss was $2.320 billion. In other words, the loss improved as a percentage of revenue, but became slightly larger in absolute dollars. Intel explained that $489 million of unfavorable product profit impact came from a higher mix of more expensive wafers produced on the early Intel 18A process. That explanation matters. New process nodes are expensive before yields improve and factories reach efficient utilization. Early losses can be the cost of rebuilding technology, not evidence that the technology failed. But investors should not turn a reasonable explanation into a permanent exemption. A successful ramp eventually has to move down the cost curve. Higher volume should improve yields, spread fixed costs, and reduce the loss attached to each wafer. If 18A volume rises while foundry losses remain stuck near current levels, the economic problem has not been solved. The technical progress is also real. Intel 18A entered production in 2025. Core Series 3 products using the node are in a full volume ramp, which means the process has moved beyond laboratory demonstrations. In June, Intel announced that 18AP, the performance-enhanced version of 18A, had entered risk production on schedule. Intel claims 18AP can provide 9% higher performance at the same power or 18% lower power at the same performance compared with 18A, plus improved thermal characteristics. Those are company claims, and outside customers will judge them through their own designs. Still, the milestone matters. Intel has re-established a credible leading-edge process roadmap after years when delays damaged both product competitiveness and customer trust. The mistake would be jumping from technical credibility to commercial victory. A node can work, an Intel product can ship on it, and the external foundry business can still struggle to win profitable volume. Technology is necessary, but customers also need predictable yields, design tools, packaging, capacity, delivery, and confidence that their manufacturing partner will execute for years. The Intel bull case now contains two layers. The first is visible: stronger server demand, a recovering product roadmap, cost discipline, and real 18A production. The second is optionality, the idea that Intel can convert its factories into an external manufacturing platform and capture revenue that would otherwise go to Asian foundries. That second layer can be extremely valuable because the fixed infrastructure already exists, and leading-edge domestic capacity has strategic importance. But optionality should not be modeled like established earnings. Intel's own filing says substantially all of the foundry currently supports internal manufacturing. External revenue remains small compared with segment costs. Customer discussions, design activity, or market rumors can be encouraging, but they are not the same as booked high-volume revenue. The bull case wins if product profits finance the ramp, 18A costs decline, and outside customers begin filling the fabs. The bear case wins if the product business improves, but the foundry continues absorbing billions without converting technical milestones into durable external margins. Both outcomes remain possible. Intel reports second quarter results after the market closes on July 23rd. Management previously guided to revenue between $13.8 billion and $14.8 billion. It guided to a 37.5% GAAP gross margin and a 39% non-GAAP gross margin, with GAAP earnings of 8 cents per share and non-GAAP earnings of 20 cents. The headline beat or miss will move the stock, but 4 details matter more for this thesis. First, does data center growth remain strong enough to carry the product recovery? Second, does consolidated gross margin improve as supply and factory output increase? Third, does the Foundry operating loss begin to decline as 18A moves through volume production? And fourth, does external Foundry revenue show real customer expansion beyond the accounting effect of Altera? Listen carefully to management's language around yields, wafer costs, external engagements, and committed volume. A vague customer pipeline is not the same as revenue. A better cost curve without new customers is progress, but it is still only half of the Foundry model. My conclusion is not that Intel's comeback is fake. The evidence says the opposite. The product business is stronger, server demand is helping, and 18A is shipping in volume products. Intel has crossed technical milestones that many investors doubted it could reach. But the stock's rally has moved the debate forward. The question is no longer whether Intel can make advanced chips. It is whether Intel can manufacture advanced chips for outside customers at a profit. Today, the external revenue is small and the Foundry loss is large. That gap is the risk. It is also the opportunity. If Intel closes it, the company gains a second earnings engine and the turnaround can grow into something much larger. If it does not, investors may discover that they paid for a Foundry business before the customers and margins arrived. Intel has proven the comeback can start. Now it has to prove the economics. Which would change your Intel thesis more, a major external customer or a sharp drop in Foundry losses? Leave your answer below. Subscribe for company analysis built around the number the market is ignoring. This video is for education and research, not personalized investment advice.